Welcome to the Masters of Scale strategy session in alliance with Capital One Business, our premier brand partner and thought partner in serving our community of entrepreneurs. Hello, my name is Jodine Dorsey. I am the VP of Live Events here at Wait What, the brand that brings you Masters of Scale. And we are so thankful that you're joining us today out of your busy schedule. What I will ask of you today is to please go inside of the chat, go in the chat. I don't know if I'm pointing to the chat correctly, but go into the chat and please introduce yourselves to the rest of the community. We'd love to hear from you. We love questions from you. We love feedback from you. You could do it all in the chat here. So please go in, co-elevate with your local entrepreneurs. Here's what to expect today. Expert hosts are taking live questions from real entrepreneurs like yourself, and I'm sure you'll find yourself in the questions that they're asking. We'll also be providing actionable takeaways for your business. And of course, co-elevating with the community in the chat. So, to introduce the theme of today's event, we have a welcome message from our partners at Capital One Business. Please join me in welcoming Sheena Ashley.
Hi, Jodine, and hello to everyone joining today's Masters of Scale strategy session. My name is Sheena Ashley, Vice President of Capital One's Community Impact and Investment Team and President of Capital One's Insight Center. The Capital One Insight Center combines Capital One research and partnerships to produce insights that advance socioeconomic mobility, and we strive to help build thriving communities and develop financial tools that enrich lives. Our research gives us the chance to hear from stakeholders on a range of timely topics, from housing affordability and digital financial literacy to small business resilience. That leads us to today's topic. I'm excited to introduce the theme for today's strategy session, the ultimate resilience playbook. Small businesses, as you know, are the backbone of Main Street America, creating significant contributions to local economic growth, job creation, and community success. They also employ 59 million Americans. That's almost half of the entire workforce, reinforcing their role as an important economic bellwether of economic vitality. However, it's important to understand the backdrop against which businesses are operating. Running a small business is not easy, and small business owners face many challenges. Recent research from the Capital One Insight Center found that despite economic pressures and uncertainty, an overwhelming majority of resilient small business owners are still feeling optimistic about growing their businesses, leveraging tools such as banking mobile apps and business credit cards to remain resilient, help manage uncertainty, automate transactions, and reinvest back in their employees. The team at Capital One Business is excited to hear our hosts discuss some of those strategies today and to hear directly from you about how your business stays resilient. Thanks for being here with us today, and back to you, Jodine.
Thank you, Sheena. Working with our partners at Capital One Business is always such a gift. And speaking of gifts, be sure to stick around until the end of the show today, because Capital One is going to give away a very, very special gift to everyone in attendance, and you don't want to miss this. Well, let's get this strategy session on a roll. Let me introduce our host for today, our expert host for today. Reid Hoffman is the co-founder of LinkedIn and Inflection AI, a partner at Greylock, and the founding host of Masters of Scale. Everette Taylor is the CEO of Kickstarter and has been recognized by Forbes as one of the most influential marketers. Please welcome Reid and Everette. Hi, Reid. Hi, Everette.
Hi, Jodine.
I'm so excited for you all to be here. New time, new strategy session. Who are we today? So I'm looking forward to it.
As am I. It's always great to see you.
All right, I'm going to let you two at it. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Judine. Everett, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to diving into this topic because resilience is obviously an extremely important thing. So great to be doing this.
Yes, thanks, Reid. I'm super excited too. I feel like these are very challenging times, and we could all use a little bit more resilience right now. And I'm looking forward to giving back to some of the entrepreneurs we speak to today.
Oh, exactly. Well, and part of speaking of entrepreneurship platforms, you've been leading Kickstarter for almost 3 years. The company's had a few shakeups, launching new features, reintroducing Kickstarter to a broader audience. There's a bunch of things, and shakeups are part of the entrepreneurial journey. Not always bad, and sometimes they're necessary to either get a company back on track or get to the next level of scale. But I'm wondering how you think about approaching these potentially challenging moments, as a
Yeah,
leader.
yeah, that's a great question. I was literally just talking to my team about this. I'm a big proponent of grit. I think grit is one of the most important traits you can have as a leader, as an entrepreneur, business owner. You have to be able to stay level headed. You can't get too high on the highs, which also means you can't get too low on the lows. And for me, I embrace the hard things. It makes the wins that much sweeter. Coming into Kickstarter, it wasn't easy. Although we were number one in our industry, and we still are, we had a slew of challenging problems. And I think it's important to identify those challenges, be realistic about those challenges, right? And communicate that to your team, create a strong plan to address them, and then provide your team a North Star that you're striving towards. That's going to be on the other side of those challenges, right? So this will both keep you and your team inspired and looking forward. And lastly, I would say it's really important to set real key performance indicators that you can keep track of, that you're actually making progress towards that goal and that North Star.
Um, and so what do you
Oh,
think?
yeah. Actually, I thought about this. If we have time, I would like to throw a question back at you.
Yeah, of course.
I think of you as somebody who, really understands, the bigger shifts in tech, culture, the marketplace. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn every day. A lot of business owners and creators right now are feeling this sense of instability, either from things happening in the government or the economy, or, depending on your business, there's all different types of nuanced challenges. What's your advice for entrepreneurs who are trying to weather this particular storm that we're all living in?
Well, it's a great question. And I also, by the way, I was just going to comment that I loved your answer, which is to, kind of part of when you're doing this, you bring the team in, you're working together as ways of doing it. So I think a lot of the stuff you've done with Kickstarter, and Kickstarter is one of my, kind of, I think of as one of the internet treasures. So I've funded a number of different projects, including I have some of my executive producer movie credits on IMDb from funding Kickstarter projects. But but to your question, which is an excellent one, one of the things that you got to think about is entrepreneurship. Obviously, it's scary. It tends to be like, part of the thing that I use, the phrase that I use for entrepreneurship is you throw yourself off a cliff and assemble an airplane the way down. It's part of that sense of vertigo and impending mortality. But one of the key things for entrepreneurs is that entrepreneurship becomes enabled by essentially creative disruption in markets. It creates the opportunity, whether it's a technology change, whether it's a change in market, whether it's a change in ability to produce new products or services. All of these things are part of what enables entrepreneurship. And so when you have these kind of chaotic, difficult moments, they are the kinds of moments that actually, in fact, enable you to be an entrepreneur. So it is good to be risk minimizing, thinking about like how do you control it, how do you survive, potential, kind of business tariff, supply chain challenges, or kind of challenges within, um, kind of what might be going on in an economic market or technology with AI and all these things. But you should also be thinking about how those are opportunities. And as an entrepreneur, it's that thinking about that as an opportunity that's, I think, really key. And so, for some, kind of, I'll gesture quickly, but some more depth. My very first book, Startup of You, which is written for individuals, but these advice I give entrepreneurs, part of how you manage kind of resilience and chaos. Great answer, Everett. But it's also like, how do you have plans A, B, and Z? Like you have a plan A, You have multiple plans B for kind of shift, and then Z is a lifeboat plan if things are going really bad. So that's like a framework for managing risk. Similar also is how you use network intelligence, which is, how do you think about, okay, how do I get some sense about the way the weather is changing, the way the market's changing, what's going on, and who are the best people I can talk to or the best things I can see to kind of get that. And some of that is going, like network intelligence is going to people and saying, hey, what do you see that I don't see? And it's part of the reason why networks are very important to entrepreneurs. So, but the really kind of most central thing that I would say is, for entrepreneurs, think about risk not just as something to manage, but also as opportunity. And whether it's market changes, turbulence, challenges, those kind of things, because it's one of the things that's unique to the entrepreneurial highway. So anyway, Everett, I think we could probably chat to just the two of us for the entire show, but I know we have some callers waiting on the line as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Always great to get insights from the man himself. And let's go on and get to our first caller. Hello, you're our first caller. You're on the line with Masters of Scale Strategy Session.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Nepali. I'm the CEO, founder of PlayLab Beauty. Thanks for having me on today. PlayLab Beauty, we're a physical storefront in Pasadena, California, and we also have an online shop. We curate and sell only the best of K-beauty. That's Korean skincare and makeup that everyone's talking about these days. Everyone's hearing about the Korean sunscreens, 10-step skincare routines. The K-beauty market has exploded from 3,000 to 10,000 brands in less than a year. So there's a lot to navigate, and most of that discovery is happening online. So my business partner and I, with our years of beauty and retail experience, started PlayLab Beauty to help the U.S. customer navigate the category, simplify it, demystify it, bring it offline in an approachable and tangible way. So that's the business, and we were running the business out of my my back house, which we lost to the Eaton fire in Altadena in January. So we lost some momentum with some of our growth plans, and the question I have for you is, what's the best way to approach managing risk after a setback like the one we experienced? I mean, I'm already relatively risk adverse for an entrepreneur, whereas my business partner is more aggressive, and she's really wanting to continue scaling, opening new locations. And then recently found out, on top of all this, we're also facing new pressures from a large corporate competitor that's opening up a flagship location right in our neighborhood. So feels like we need to act now, but also feels like we're just getting back on our feet after saving the business from literal disaster. So love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
go ahead, Reid.
Everett.
All right, I'll go.
I'm really sorry to hear about. Yeah, go, Everett.
I think there's a little bit of a lag, but I'll just say first and foremost, I want to say my heart goes out to you, and honestly, all of the people affected by those fires. We had so many creators here at Kickstarter personally affected by it. To answer your question first, I want to say, and just be honest, I tend to be a little bit less on the risk averse side. I genuinely believe if you stay stagnant too long, you die as a business, especially if you have strong competition. It sounds like competition is coming to your doorstep. I say this to the team all the time. I feel the ability to move fast and execute is paramount. And when you're a startup or, a young business, you have to stay nimble as an entrepreneur, and you just can't get too much in your head, right? With that being said, I'm also a big fan of taking calculated risks. So properly weighing out what are the best and worst case scenarios. And what I find very often is that sometimes inaction, right, has worst case scenarios than actually taking the risk. So I think it's about really weighing those scenarios, figuring out how likely they are, and really weighing out the pros and cons. But I would go on the side of being a bit more aggressive for sure. Go ahead, Reid.
Well, and building on whatever it said, because you are at risk already, and it's kind of choice of different risks and which one plays out to most fruitfully building your business. Now, by the way, it's great to have co-founders, and it's great to have one of them being a little bit more risk management, the other one a little bit more risk forward, because it allows you to combine your thinking and get to a balanced decision. Because part of, even though risk is essential to entrepreneurship, taking intelligent risk is what's most important. So you need to prioritize, kind of like, okay, what are the things that are the most timely risk? What are the things the most urgent? What are the things you can do stuff about? Now, generally speaking, it's a little bit, to build on Everette's thing. It's, I quote the Shawshank Redemption, part of get busy living or get busy dying as part of entrepreneurship. You do need to be growing into the new things, and so always being a little bit more risk forward by default is a good. The kind of way to think about it is to say, like, another way is Bezos has this kind of one-way doors, two-way doors, like which risks can you take that are kind of good experimental, like, you can build it, and which ones are like, no, this is betting the company, this is betting the project we're doing, and then you got to be more careful and more systematic on those. You're still going to take those one-way door risks, you just do them kind of a little bit less, a little bit more, with like scenario planning and early precision. So but again, just as Everett said, he did the exact same things I was going to when we were kind of jostling and open with, which is really sorry to hear about the house and everything else, and those are part of the things that are just really difficult. And so heart goes out to you and also to all the other folks.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Say a little bit about K Beauty. This is, Everett may know more about this than I do, right? But it's definitely like, learning about new things is one of the things that's great about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, we have a lot of CPG brands and beauty brands that launch on Kickstarter. So yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, K Beauty, Korean beauty. There's K everything these days, right? K-pop, we've got K movies winning Oscars. There's a whole Korean wave, and beauty is very much a part of that. And a lot of the discovery, as I said, is happening online. There are a lot of TikTok viral products that people are hearing about, but can't get their hands on physically, or if they buy it online, they don't know exactly what they're looking for. So there's a lot of interest, a lot of demand, and a lack of supply and a lack of access. So really what we're focused on is that access, and then helping folks understand it. But I think the other beauty about K Beauty is that in our store, for example, there's nothing over $40. So it's an insane deal for insane value for a lot. Of course I'm biased, but I'm going to say better products. And so we're right around the corner from Sephora, and I often like to say we've got a lot of the Sephora staff members coming and shopping our store as well. So definitely there's something there, and the stuff works. I have people telling me so many times they come and say, Vanessa, this new skincare routine has really changed my skin. I've tried everything, and this is really there's nothing that's ever worked as well as this. So it's just really an exciting moment for this category, subcategory within beauty. And my co-founder and I are just so excited to be able to bring it forward in what we think is a very unique, tangible, and fun way.
Well, that's awesome. It's one of the things I love about Masters of Scale and entrepreneurship. I always learn new things, and now I now know something that I didn't know before. So Vanessa, thanks so much for calling, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. I'll send you guys some Korean sunscreens to try.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I lather sunscreen all the time. I try to stay pasty and white.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you both.
Yep. Thank you. So our next question comes to us through a slightly different channel. If you've been to a strategy session before, then you've probably heard us talk about Masters of Scale Summit, the premier conference we host in San Francisco. Every year at Summit, we invite a cohort of 40 hand-selected first-time founders to be part of our early stage founders program. And just last month, we selected the members of this year's cohort, and a few of them sent in video messages with their burning business questions. So Everett, I hope you're ready, because these are going to be rapid fire.
I'm ready, Reid. Let's get it.
So our first question comes from Sharon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Samjit. I am the CEO and co-founder of Healthcare Originals, and I'm thrilled that we're a part of the Masters of Scale Early Stage Founders Program. My question today is, as we continue to build traction and grow our organization, how do we start thinking about the balance that we need to achieve between deploying resources to get even more traction versus really starting to scale operational processes and really developing repeatable processes and assigning resources to that. So appreciate any insight you can give me. Thank you.
Everett, I presume you get questions like this all the time.
Yeah.
I'll kick off this one first and then pass it over to you, because I think my guess is you may actually have a bunch of depth here through the entire entrepreneurial Kickstarter program. Kind of what Kickstarter does for, I don't know how many tens of thousands, but lots of projects. So, part of the question first, one framework. When you're growing as entrepreneurs, you never kind of settle on one scaled operational processes, one set of repeatable processes. Things will change. The market will change. Your level of scale will change. Your supply chain will change. You'll need to pivot or change as you're doing various product market fit or scale product market fit. And so, kind of overly kind of going, hey, we should really just focus intensely on operational processes tends to be a more stable part of it as you're going through the dynamic changes. So you always want to kind of be deploying resources to get more traction and scale. It's one of the things, not just, of course, because we're on Masters of Scale, but the focus on getting to scale is a fundamental part of it. Now, part of what you need to figure out is structurally, how important is it to be systemic at the scale, and how important is it to blitz? Although, like my third book, Blitz Scaling, which is, you blitz when you have competition, you blitz when you need to get to a certain amount of scale in order to be move from a, get the plane flying and move from a potential dead concern to an ongoing concern. Those are all times when you might blitz. Otherwise, you're kind of do more what I call fast scaling, which is, kind of like, hey, yes, we want to get to scale. We want to realize the market opportunity with kind of all due speed, but we want to minimize the risks in kind of uncertainty for doing that. So, those would be kind of some general frameworks, but, as I said at the beginning, I think Everett might have more, kind of like with the breadth of different projects experiences, might have some more things to add in.
Yeah, I mean, even as an established company, Reid, even for billion-dollar companies, et cetera, you're still making these level of decisions, right? In terms of, setting up the foundation for success, whether you're launching new products, adding new business lines, going to new audiences, et cetera, et cetera. But I really believe in setting the foundation for success to be able to properly scale. I've seen a lot of founders, creators on Kickstarter. I've made the mistake myself of investing too much capital without the proper infrastructure. So with everything in life, it's about balance. Growth and traction is obviously key, but it's not worth people having bad user experiences, losing customers, not being able to properly serve customers, or, you want to be able to always maintain and give a consistent experience. And that's one of the hardest parts of being a startup. And so, yes, you have to get the growth. You have to go after the growth. And obviously there's a balance here, but trust me, it's much harder to win back a user or a customer if they had a bad experience because you didn't have the proper infrastructure to serve that customer. So if you have the time and you have the capital, and I don't know what situation that you're currently in, I would definitely invest in making sure that you at least lay, you talk about MVPs for products, but like, what is the minimum viable product for your infrastructure to make sure that you can actually scale and serve your customers the right way?
Sharon, great question. Thank you. It's a question that bedevils all entrepreneurs. So a very good general question for everyone.
Cool. Well, Reid, our next question comes from Ifnia, hopefully Ifnia, who's going to play her video right now.
Hi, my name is Ifnai Wanoyeri, and I am the founder of Obodo Full Circle, an organization serving underrepresented languages, starting with Igbo of southeastern Nigeria. As a female solo founder who's very aware that in order to scale and really take the business to the next level, my question is, how do I find co-founders or a team who can help with things like marketing, who can help with operations, finances, and more that are as passionate as I am or as skilled or able to do these things with such circumstances such as lacking resources?
Or Reid, I'll take this first question, but you might have more experience than me. I've been mostly a solo founder throughout my career, and you were very successful creating something as a co-founder. So I'll pass this over, but I'll give a few of my own thoughts here. There's no perfect answer, and I don't know what kind of budgets you're personally looking at right now as a founder, but a co-founder is such a big decision. Someone joked like, your wife or your husband or your partner and your co-founder are some of the biggest decisions you'll make in your life. And you don't just want to give anyone that distinction or equity, right? So the best advice I can offer to you is that you have a very mission-driven business. And Kickstarter is a very mission-driven business. And one of the things we think about when we're bringing people into the organization, and you should think about this as well as when you're looking for any of your first employees, co-founders, et cetera, is that we want to start with people who care deeply about this problem or this region, or someone who works adjacently in another mission-driven organization, right? And so to me, this is not an easy solve, but I think starting first with people who are mission driven, that are passionate about the problem, and then networking and having conversations in these communities to say, hey, do you really, a great marketer? Do you know a great engineer? Oh, I need, a payments engineer or infrastructure engineer, et cetera, et cetera. And so really start to network in the communities that are passionate about the problem that you're solving or adjacent to that.
So I think Everett's given a great basis. I'll add a few things. I tend to be a huge a believer in co-founders. So I think it's a good thing to do. It's not to say that solo founders can't do, perfectly amazing things like Everette and everything else for doing this, but it balances out as opposed to like this person's good at technical, this person's good at business, this person's good at sales, this person's good at financial analysis, et cetera. And then kind of diversifying that work. So I think in general, if you can, do co-founders, it's a useful thing. But exactly as Everett says, it's deeply personal. I mean, it's like the equivalent of a lifetime partner or a close friends or other kinds of things as ways of doing this. And I think it's very important to approach it with that level of seriousness. And so therefore, it's not a trivial wander down to a cafe, find one, say, hey, we're going to do something together. And because you're going to go through valley of the shadow moments together on this. And so you have to have a high level of resilience through these kind of entrepreneurial processes. Now, that being said, part of, and this is not just because, part of social networks resemble their founders' brains, LinkedIn is the way that I kind of do this is it isn't that it just have to be someone you knew from your high school days. It can be someone you get to know, but you get to know people through your network. Like I go to people and I say, who are the best people that I can meet? And it doesn't have to be here's an exact job description, exact CV, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, no, just meet really great people and use that as a way of doing it. And so, one of the things to think about in terms of co-founders is that it's not just at the very beginning. So like, for example, Jeff Weiner, when he came into LinkedIn, who I met through my partner, Greylock, James Slavitt, who said, he's just a really amazing guy, you should know him. I had no specific agenda, brought in as a later stage co-founder for this, process. And that's one of the ways that to kind of think about.
Cool. What a great question. I'm personally passionate about the African region. I'm actually about to head to Ghana, West Africa after this call. So please reach out. I would love to help, and we'll grab some jollof or something like that. So great question, and I'll pass it over to Reid.
So our last question from an early stage founder comes from Nico.
Hey, I'm Nico, co-founder and CEO of Speako. We're an AI speech coach that helps you build confidence in your voice. So historically, we've been selling Speako directly to consumers on the App Store. So you can download Speako, you can use it to count your filler words or get feedback on the tone of your voice. And what's happened is we've started having individuals, so teams, things like that, say, hey, can I get this for my team? Can I get this for my company? And now we're expanding Speako to sell directly to these businesses and organizations. The struggle we're having, though, is we just keep getting labeled as a nice to have and we're spinning our wheels. So how do we get beyond this nice to have label?
So Everett, I'll kind of jump into the breach this one and then hand over the mic. I mean, it is the key part of the entrepreneurial journey to figure out how to be as essential as possible. And this is part of where you kind of do user scenarios. You figure out if you're concerned if it's a nice to have versus a necessary to have is a product concern, or is it marketing and how they understand it. It's part of how you do experimentation. So like one of the things we do in consumer internet stuff is kind of paper testing. Like you just kind of like when, in early days when we had enterprises show up and say, hey, we'd like to buy an enterprise product from LinkedIn. We just created a PowerPoint deck and showed it to them. Like, this is a product we're thinking about, we're building. What do you think? And that's the stuff you will need to do. I'm glad that you've got AI speech coaching. I think we're going to have coaching from AI for all kinds of things. So anyway, Everett, over to you.
Yeah, I say the same thing, Reid, to echo your sentiments. This to me sounds like a classic product market fit problem. When I listen to you say, hey, you're having people tell you this isn't a must have, all I hear is that you got a bunch of data points, right? And people that you could be surveying and getting more data from. So are you properly getting the data and insights from the people that you're speaking to that are giving you that feedback? Are these people actually using the product, or is it their impression of the product or service itself? So what I think is either you're not communicating value the right way. A lot of times I see this, people will have a great product, but they don't know how to pitch it, or they don't know how to sell it or market it, right? And so, really it's either you're not communicating value the right way, or your marketing and sales strategy isn't resonating. Or something else that could be the case is that your product truly isn't a must have yet. And that isn't the end all be all, right? Like you can continue to iterate, learn, and get that product to where it is because you already have people using it. So you know that it delivers value. What is going to take that product to the next level, and continue to think about, hey, am I truly reaching my core audience? I know tons of people who are now trying to be creator. Like the creator market is exploding. People, speaking in front of cameras. There's a huge public speaking market. There's so many things where people need a service like this, and like really start to think about, are you truly reaching that core audience? Is that core audience really employees inside of companies, or is it somewhere else? And how big is that audience? And these are the tough questions that you really have to ask yourself. I'll pass it back over to you, Reid.
Yep. So these were really interesting questions. And thanks to all of the early stage founders that sent in videos. I'm looking forward to seeing you all at Summit in October.
Cool. Reid, I think we got another call coming in. Hello. Thanks for calling Strategy Session. How can we help?
Hello. Thank you so much. My name is Jared Walker. I'm the founder of a nonprofit called $4. And $4 helps patients with hospital bills. Specifically, we help patients access something called hospital financial assistance or hospital charity care. So charity care is a federal law that requires nonprofit hospitals, which is most in America, to reduce or waive hospital bills for low-income patients. So if you're within a certain income range, the hospitals have to reduce the bill. The problem is that hospitals don't do a great job of telling people about these programs, right? So it's really hard to access, and millions of people go on payment plans or declare bankruptcy for bills that they don't have to pay. So I started $4 to help patients through the process, and we built a tech platform to tell patients if they're eligible, lead them through the application, and we submit their application and advocate on their behalf. So since 2021, we've helped eliminate over $100 million in medical debt for people throughout the country. And we've grown rapidly with, a lot of bipartisan support. So enter Medicaid cuts. And we are going to have millions of people lose coverage and will need the safety net. And unfortunately, $4 is going to be really busy over the next few years. So we're trying to scale our patient support. At the same time, we've had a lot of our key supporters start to question our work. For the first time ever, I'm finding myself defending the work that we do against the idea that we are anti-hospital. So fundraising in this environment has been extremely difficult. My question is, how do you navigate financial uncertainty while trying to scale, especially when the needs of the people you're serving are urgent and growing rapidly?
Well, Jared, as you know, I'm extremely sympathetic, since, I've done an investment with you. I think it's extremely important work. And part of that's, of course, because, the way that we make progress in life is that people can continue to invest in, entrepreneurs, their businesses, but their economic lives and everything else. And medical emergencies are the kinds of things that can throw individuals and families into complete, kind of tragic, difficult times. And so the services you provide are, I think, totally critical. Now, it's one of the things that I think is really good about your calling in is that, kind of it's this general strategy around, all right, entrepreneurs have to navigate so many different things. They have to navigate capital, they have to navigate hiring, they have to navigate product market fit, they have to navigate scaling, they have to navigate managing the business, they have to navigate, it's part of what makes it such a difficult, kind of path. And so you have to kind of trade off balances of risks, just as we were talking about at the beginning. And part of, I think, these balances of risks is to say, well, capital and ability to proceed is always really fundamental. So, like, one of the things to really focus on is like, look, we are prospectively saving people's lives and ability to contribute to the world and community by doing this. It's one of the things that's really important to invest in. We're not actually, in fact, anti-hospital. We're just trying to get the individuals the ability to navigate this. And frankly, the hospital payment systems, as you know, are totally screwed up because of the way that we do our payment industry with insurance and all the rest. And so the fact is, it's like, well, the billing for procedure X is $100,000. That's because that's the list price that the insurance people navigate with. So it's like you're actually helping fix an otherwise, kind of challenging system. And I think that's one of the things to be building that pitch. And that would be one of the things to focus on, because with the capital, that's how you could ultimately scale to the people that you're serving, even though, of course, there's always going to be lots of people you're not going to be able to, because it's the need is so deep. Anyway, Everette, over to you.
Yeah, first, Jared, honestly, this is my first time hearing about your company. But this is something that is, very, very personal to me, with my family, and I see the impact that it's having on people. So I just want to say, I give you kudos. Your mission and cause is so important in this time. It's incredibly inspiring. And to do this work, I just want to say, like, keep going, man. I know it's incredibly tough. When I hear what you're doing, I can't help but think that crowdfunding could be a potential vehicle for you, not to pitch you on Kickstarter or another platform. But I think, when we see government funding getting cut and all these things happen, we've had a slew of entrepreneurs, creatives, makers coming to Kickstarter now because they need to. Organizations, nonprofits coming to Kickstarter because they need that level of funding. And what I will say is that, yes, there are going to be people that question you. The political climate is going to shift. Things are going to constantly shift, but you know that you are doing the right thing, and history is going to shine brightly on you, my friend, in the end. So keep going and look at alternative paths to raising money, whether it's a Kickstarter, whether it's another platform. I'm telling you, there's people out there like myself that are inspired by what you do and is going to want to support can give money. It's just really thinking about your marketing strategy, like just zero base your thinking. Like, hey, if we were starting this thing tomorrow, like how do we find our people? How do we find those audiences? How do we find that community that's going to really rally behind us? Because I know that they exist, because I'm one of those people that exist. So keep going, continue to have that grit. And we're definitely rooting for you. And I genuinely hope those answers help you, Jared, and genuinely good luck with all the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Super encouraging. And yes, Reid, thank you so much for all the support.
No, and Jared, one quick moment before you go. Tell everyone a little bit what your experience at Summit was last year.
Oh man, it was fantastic. A little overwhelming for me. I from the nonprofit side, not used to it. But I had to take a couple days just to let it soak all in. It was fantastic. Great content, and had a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And by the way, I can't. I think Everett's exactly right, which is I think there's a broad-based support. So whether it's kind of social media, clipping. By the way, one thing on press is also to to kind of like don't pick obviously fights with the hospitals as per the thing, but pick fights with like the Times of what's going on to get the elevation, because a lot of people will be in your category of help people with these emergencies, these underdogs, and that's part of exactly what crowdfunding, Kickstarter, etc. is also very good with. So strong +1 to all that, and we're all rooting for you. So that's awesome. And Everette, back over to you.
Yeah, Reid, time flies. It feels crazy to say, but we're almost out of time. Let's invite Jodine back before we wrap things up.
Thank you so much, Reid, Everette. I can't think of two better expert hosts to talk about resilience and recovery. I thank you guys so much for being here, but we have a couple of chat questions. I've been in the chat and I'm looking to my right because the chat is on my other monitor. And I want to ask a couple of questions from our audience. Is that okay? Do you have a couple more minutes to spare? Perfection.
Awesome.
Perfection. Okay, so Reid and Everette. How is venture and equity raising crowdfunding impacted by this economic downturn and the proliferation of AI companies coming on the scene? Thank you, Mia, for that question. Really good question. Any thoughts?
So crowdfunding, Everette, I think that's your expertise.
Yeah. I'll do
there, and then I'll add some venture.
Yeah. So on the crowdfunding side, it's actually been really interesting. I hate to say this, but like when infrastructure tends to break down, right, and model culture starts to break down, Kickstarter kind of thrives in those moments because we are a very strong alternative path for people, whether it's people who can't get venture capital, whether it's people who are not, the right fit for venture capital. Like you're not building a $10, $20 billion business. Maybe you're building a $20, $30 million business, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And, we have, you have the movie studios. We have such a breadth from music to fashion to film, to comics and publishing, and et cetera, et cetera. So we have a breadth of those things. And so when the industries are changing and they're becoming more risk averse, Kickstarter then becomes a platform for a lot of people. So sometimes, unfortunately, in those bad economic times or when things are breaking down, Kickstarter starts to go up into the right even more as a place and a haven for people to find an alternative way to do those things. And so we've been seeing an uptick in business this year, and we're probably going to have our biggest year of all time, even despite the economic challenge. On the other side, it also is very, very hard. Like tariffs are extremely hard. All these things are extremely hard. And so we've been super nimble as a company, as we were talking about earlier, is continue to be nimble, continue to be innovative. We built our own tariff manager. We've built our own pledge manager that can help people with taxes and shipping and all of these things. We're building more tools to help entrepreneurs through pre-launch and raising more money. And so we've been really heavy on being like, hey, let's fight this with action by building innovative product and continuing to help support the creators on our platform. And Reid, I'll let you go on the venture and equity side.
Yeah, no, exactly. And actually, fascinating. I'm learning some stuff on the Kickstarter stuff, the Terra platform, really interesting. So on the venture side, obviously, just about every entrepreneur who's pitching Silicon Valley venture people is learning to say it's AI. So it's AI, anything, which, can be a little bit much. But that being said, everyone knows that the kind of industries are going to resort because of AI. It's going to be, amplifier of every individual productivity of everything that has to do with language. It's going to change patterns of kind of company operations. It's going to change patterns of kind of go to market, marketing, change patterns of, product creation. One of the ways to kind of look at this, is like, I think everyone's going to have a, kind of multiple co-pilots, including an engineering vibe coding co-pilot, everything else. And that's part of what's going on. So venture is like, like saying, oh gosh, we know that there's going to be a whole bunch of resorting. And that's the reason why there's a ton of capital flowing in the market, including in places where people sometimes go, well, that's a little nutty. But that's, typical. That's typical of the internet time. That's typical of, smartphones. It's typical, this is the way that plays. But that the AI, kind of wave is creating a lot of interest in venture. But of course, it means that if you're not AI, it's then harder to get venture capitalist attention because that's the kind of moment that they all feel they're working on. So anyway, those are some of the patterns there.
Interesting. One more question, Dr. Lascelles Sweetland, thank you. Also put in a question in the chat. What's one strategic decision early stage founders often overlook that becomes a major bottleneck at scale? And how can they future-proof their business model to avoid that one particular issue?
I'd say the particular thing, and then, I hand it over to Everett, but I'd say the particular thing tends to be not recruiting as much in advance. So typically almost kind of the way that we're trained by existing large scale businesses, you go, oh, we need a new employee. And so let's post a job description, do the proactive recruiting on LinkedIn and other things, then kind of fit that in and kind of do it as a trailing thing, as opposed to hey, what are things that I'm going to need soon? Can I hire generalists? It's one of the things that I kind of started with in Silicon Valley was this kind of this pattern of hire some good generalists early that can switch between things. Oh, I need someone to look for office space. I need someone to do this BD deal. I need someone to kind of work out and help on our new marketing launch and kind of shifting around. So having kind of more kind of general human talent available early because as you hit the either upside opportunities or bumps, you'll frequently need that. That's where I would frequently go to this as a key. But Everett may have a more general answer.
There's so many things. The first thing that came to mind is that I think as an early stage, you're growth, like growth at all costs, growth. And one of the things that we spoke about a little bit earlier is about making sure that you have the infrastructure for growth. And a lot of people don't necessarily do that. And that the biggest piece I think is retention, right? And so as an early stage founder, you're constantly thinking about how do I acquire users? How do I acquire customers? But you're often not thinking enough about how do I retain those users and those customers? And have I set up infrastructure in ways to continue to collect data and insights? Because with AI now, you could be a market leader today, and then 3-4 months from now, you could be out of business, right? And so making sure that you stay innovative, making sure that you're listening to customers, getting those data and insights, and constantly obsessing not just about acquisition, but also obsessing over retention and user experience, I think is key, especially when you get to scale.
I love it. Wow. Everett, Reid, thank you so much again for joining us for this Masters of Scale strategy session. I can't think of two better hosts to be here with me today. So thank you so much, the two of you. I'm going to let you two be while I continue to talk to the audience.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. And I hope to see people at Summit. So
yes,
Jodine, always a pleasure.
Always, Reid. Always, Everett. Thank you. Woo. Thank you, Reid. Thank you, Everett. thank you, Mia, and thank you, Dr. Sweetland, for those questions in the chat. The chat is buzzing. Continue to put more information in the chat, your LinkedIn links, do it all on the chat. This is where our community gets a chance to co-elevate. And we are also getting so close to that special giveaway. But before we talk about this giveaway, we'd love for you to take a quick survey, just a quick survey. To find the poll, just navigate to the top of the chat. I'm not sure where I'm pointing, but you'll see a tab that says poll. If you're watching on your mobile, you'll find it under the video player. So that I know I'm pointing at correctly. So go under the video player, just collapse the chat, and you'll be able to complete the poll. Let's play some music while people complete the poll. Thank you so much for completing that survey. We deeply appreciate it. And before we wrap, I want to give a huge shout out again to our brand partner, Capital One Business. We always enjoy collaborating with you on our shared mission of supporting entrepreneurship in all of its form. I can't thank enough Reid, Hoffman, and Everette Taylor for taking time out of their busy schedules and being with us today and sharing their expertise. Vanessa from Play Lab Beauty, Jared from $4, and our newest early stage founders, Sharon Samjitsing and Ifanaya Wanyir. Thank you so much for joining us. And Nico Aguilar, thank you so much for being here with us today. I would also like to thank the Masters of Scale team and the always stellar live events producer, Chineme Ezekwena, and you, the audience. Thank you so much for being with us today. Now this is the time. This is the time for the giveaway. To talk about this giveaway, here's a special message from our partners at Capital One Business. Let me take it away to Sheena Ashley.
Thanks, Jodine. Our team at Capital One Business is always so excited to see the Masters of Scale community come together in forums like this to learn and support one another. And we think it would be fun to keep this energy going in October at the Masters of Scale Summit. So we're offering free live stream passes for Masters of Scale Summit to everyone in attendance today. You'll get access to everything on the summit stage right from the comfort of your home or office. Keep an eye on your email inbox for more details, and we'll see you in October.
Wow, what an amazing offer. The summit live stream is next level, and you don't want to miss it. Actually, if you are going to be in San Francisco, October 7th through 9th, you want to actually be in that room. And I encourage you all to please go to the mastersofscale.com website and submit an application to be in attendance in person. I'm telling you, you want to be there in person. We'll send you more details over emails, and we'll also include a special discount for our strategy session community. So be on the lookout for these emails. But thank you, Capital One Business, for that special giveaway with the live stream tickets. Again, thank you to everyone here for being here and co-elevating with us today. Head over to the Masters of Scale LinkedIn page to keep this conversation going. We'll share some of our favorite takeaways from today, and we'd love to hear yours. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you at the Masters of Scale Summit. Goodbye.
As we evolve our technology, we evolve our humanity. This is the moment to really pay attention.
It's about demystifying the idea of who gets to be successful.
Dream of your life.
Yeah.
What do you want to contribute? If you're going to build a company, what do you want people to take away from that other than buying something?
There's this sense that it is a zero-sum game in this society. I do not prescribe to that.
Yeah, you said it's impossible. We're going to try it anyway because it's fun.
And suddenly, it's like everything is conspiring to bring you joy.
You start to turn your dreams into plans.
In the spirit of Masters of Scale,
our clock starts now.
This is Masters of Scale Summit.